I'm going to show you how to get started with your Basys 2 FPGA. We're going to go over the software you need to download and how to use that software. So the first thing you're going to need is the ISE Webpack software. And I'm going to be posting all the links from these websites in the description in the video below. So when you go to this website, scroll down to ISE Webpack, and you might have to create an account to download it. So when you select it, just click download and create an account or whatever they ask for. The other piece of software that you need is Adept. Once again, I will be posting this link. So scroll down and download it for Windows or Linux, whatever you have. So once you have installed those two pieces of software, we can get started. So you're gonna go ahead and open the project Navigator, which comes with your ISE Webpack software. So once this opens, go to File, New Project, the name of the project, now I'm given this option of top level source type. You can select if you want to program the FPGA using HDL or a schematic. I'm gonna choose schematic for this one. From this list of options, make sure that Spartan 3E is selected for the family. For the device, I have an FPGA that I bought with 100 kilo gates. So for me, I'm gonna select 100. If you don't know which one you got, just whenever you checked it out, you should have noticed that it said 100K or 250, either one of those two. So this is the 250, that's the one you have. The package, there are 3 packages. If you're not sure which package you got, simply Google the image for that package. So if I Google CP132, and go to images, you're gonna notice that I have this, you see this chip here. So if that's what the chip in your FPGA looks like, then that's the package you have. So just make sure that you have the correct package. And you can also Google the other two. Let me Google VQ100. So it looks similar, but notice that this one actually has pins around, so it's not the same. The other options, you can leave them as they are. For the preferred language, you can choose VHDL or Verilog, but you can actually program them in both. So I'm just gonna leave it at Verilog for now. I'm gonna click next, finish. So now I can start either drawing schematics or writing code. I'm gonna right click on the project folder, new source. I'm gonna use a schematic, which I'm gonna name main schematic. Make sure that add to project is selected, click next, finish. Now what I'm gonna program into my FPGA is a D flip-flop, and if you're not familiar with that, I will explain to you what it is in a moment. So if I go to flip-flop in categories, and I'm actually given a list of other symbols that I can use, but I'm gonna choose the FD1 symbol. So that is my D flip-flop. The input is D, the output is Q. This is where the clock goes. Now if you don't know what a D flip-flop is, it just gives you an output that is equal to the input. Or rather, it gives you an output that is equal to whatever D is equal to whenever you have a rise or fall in your clock, depending on how you program it. In this case, it has an inverter, so that will be a fall. Now what we have to do is link the inputs and output to the corresponding buttons or switches in the FPGA. So if you go to your add IO marker and click on each one of the squares, it will create a label that we can use to reference the switches and buttons in the FPGA and also the lights. So I'm going to connect my Q to a light and D to a switch, and I'm going to connect C to the FPGA's clock. Let's go ahead and rename these ports to a more understandable name. So I'm going to rename this one D. I'm going to rename this one CLK for clock. And I'm gonna rename this one Q, and you can name them anything you want. Go ahead and save. Now that I have created my schematic to upload to the FPGA and label my inputs, now these are actually just labels for me to know. I haven't actually told the program what pins from the FPGA I'm gonna be using. So to do that, go back to your design tab, right click here, new source, constraints file. I'm gonna name this Basys 2. Now in this file, which is in my main schematic, is where I link these labels to the buttons on the FPGA or LEDs or whatever. So open it up and type net, the name of the label, LOC, and the pin on the FPGA that we want to use. So for my input D, I want to use one of the switches in the FPGA. If you go to the Digilent website, you're going to see a picture of the FPGA, and this is the switch I'm going to be using. If you look at it, there's a number in parentheses at the top, and there's also a number below. The number in parentheses at the top is the pin number for the LEDs here, and the number below the switch is not in parentheses but is to the right of a dash. So for this one, you're gonna notice that right about here it says P11. Another thing you can do that is much easier is go to your reference manual. You're gonna see here that switch 0, which is the switch I want to use, is P11, and the LED I want to use is M5. So in my constraints file, I want my input to be P11, and I want my output to be M5. Now what I need is to specify the clock. So the pin for the clock is actually B8, and you might be able to find it here. Let me see. So you can see here that it says the global clock input is at pin B8. Actually, the primary oscillator is at pin B8 and the secondary oscillator is at M6. I'm going to be using the primary oscillator B8. So that's it for my constraints file. So remember, you have to define your labels D, CLK, and Q. So now we're actually ready to compile and upload the code to your FPGA. To do that, select the schematic, double click on implement design, and so this thing is gonna start running. Just wait for it until you get a set of green check marks. So now that we have the check marks for the synthesis and the design implementation, we can generate a programming file. So double click on that. Once that is done, we are done with this software. Go ahead and open the Adept software. Now my FPGA is not currently connected to the USB. I'm gonna go ahead and connect it. Now from the drop down menu, I'm gonna have the option of my the name of the FPGA. Go ahead and select it. Now it's connected. To program it, go ahead and browse for the programming file that was generated. So if I go to where I created my program, there's gonna be a file called main-schematic.bit. Go ahead and open that file. Click yes here. Click program. Yes once again. That's done. So you're ready to test the code in your FPGA. So this is the code running in the FPGA. If I flip up the switch, the light turns on, and if I flip it down, it turns off.